York's recent progress on wind is directly a result of state programs to encourage wind development and federal incentives for wind power. Now, despite these clear benefits of wind and the widespread bipartisan support for federal policies to promote renewable energy, the fossil fuel interests and their political allies have vigorously opposed these initiatives.
The midterms will change plenty of things in the American political landscape. What it likely won't change is the fact plenty of American tax dollars will be wasted, and plenty of pet projects will be stroked and funded, especially by those heading out the door. That may go right to the top of the governmental food chain. Welcome to Midpoint. Former 7-term Republican Congressman from Oklahoma, talk radio host, and a fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School leading a study on propaganda in American politics. But we could do a whole subject on that, a whole hour. Ernest Istook joins us today. Congressman, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Congressman, is it fair to say, as we look at all the money that has been spent on these green energy projects over the last 6 years, let's say, in the Obama administration, we are looking at perhaps some of the best scams as far as waste of taxpayer money is concerned in decades?
Well, any scam artist, if they can convince you that this is the way to save the world, this is the way to make sure the planet doesn't catch on fire from global warming, even though we haven't had global warming for some, 18 years now. But if they can make you believe that no cost is too big to pay, then they can continue what they're doing with something like $40 billion a year in taxpayers' money going to various green energy incentives and grants and loans through the federal treasury. And one of the biggest of those is the wind energy tax credit. For every megawatt hour that they generate through wind energy, they get $23 from the U.S. Treasury. And of course, you multiply that by the many thousands of megawatt hours that are generated, which is still a small fraction of what the country uses. And they're talking about an $18 billion renewal of this. Now, this was supposed to be a temporary tax credit back in 1992 to help the industry get on its feet. Well, the problem is wind power is such an expensive way to generate electricity that even with these major subsidies, plus all sorts of subsidies from different states, it still is one of the costliest forms of power, and it makes people's electric bills skyrocket.
Then why do we keep wasting all this money, Congressman? Because the way I'm looking at it here, I'm looking at, let's see, the Fisker Automotive, $530 million. I'm looking at Solyndra, was about $500 million. I see billions sitting around here. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of wasted money. Why do we who keeps falling for these scams?
Well, it's people that think that it's necessary to save the planet, because this ties in with the propaganda campaign about that. And what they don't tell you is that they are forcing you to buy some of the most expensive energy that you can. New study from the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows that electric rates are rising 4 times faster in states that use the most wind power. Because if they tell you you cannot buy electricity unless you buy some of it generated by wind power. It's like if you go to the supermarket and you just say, I'm going to pick up some cold cuts and chicken and hamburger. They say, no, you can't. You've got to buy prime rib. You got to buy T-bone steak. You've got to buy filet mignon. You've got to buy the expensive things that you can't afford, or we won't let you buy electricity at all. That's what's going on. And why would we renew this crony capitalism of another $18 billion for wind energy? We have a chance to stop some crony capitalism, because that incentive expired in December 2013, but they want to revive it retroactively. They've got the skids greased in the U.S. Senate to do it during the lame duck Congress the administration is putting for it. And unless people call their member of Congress and say, don't vote for anything that renews this $18 billion giveaway, no matter what it's packaged with, don't vote for it. That's the only way we're going to put a stop to this crony capitalism.
I've only got about 30 seconds left. We'll take a break, come back. But in the 30 seconds here, is it not fair to say that doing the right thing, getting clean energy, it's a nice idea, but simply put, the money's just being put in the wrong hands over and over again? Fair?
Well, it's a nice idea to be able to vacation in Switzerland and the Bahamas and to have a huge mansion in the place of your choice, but you just can't afford it. Lots of nice ideas are not affordable.
Because our technology in many ways, and I've heard people say this, is still not there to make things like wind power completely usable 24/7, correct?
That's exactly the problem. Energy from fossil fuels is so much more affordable, and it's a lot cleaner than it once was. But again, the propaganda campaign is on to make people think otherwise and say, oh, no price is too big to pay to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, we
I'll tell
always
you.
do. All right,
the fact that Stoning's standards is too big a price.
Stand by a second. We'll return with former Congressman Ernest Istook and discuss how far up the wasting food chain these dollars go, and a peek into the Iowa midterms coming up on Midpoint.